Chapter 13. Fight. Little Eddie's brother Scotty was brilliant. He'd skipped a grade in school and still made straight A's. He wore dark, horn-rimmed glasses and tended to be just a bit overweight. He talked about things no one else in school understood. He was a target for bullies. Now Ernie lived around the hillside from where Eddie and Scotty lived. He was a couple of grades ahead of Scott. He stood head and shoulders above him. He had muscles and an Adam's apple. He chewed tobacco. Ernie was a bully, and he decided he didn't like Scotty. One day, Ernie informed Scotty he was going to beat him up. He was generous about it, though. He let Scotty pick the time and place. Little Eddie was afraid Ernie might kill his brother. Why, Ernie might just decide to kill Eddie while he was at it. Eddie knew that big brothers were supposed to stick up for their little brothers, but he had to admit he was afraid. What should he do? What should Scotty do? "I'm going to fight him," said Scotty, matter-of-factly. "Why, he could kill you," said Eddie. "What are you going to do?" asked Scotty. Eddie looked embarrassed and pushed the dirt around with his shoe. An idea came to him. "I'll referee." If things got out of hand, at least he could run get a grown-up. The day of the fight came. Ernie strolled through the front gate of the boys' house with a cruel gleam in his eye. He'd been looking forward to this for some time. In a patch of shade, little Eddie marked off the ring in the orchard grass. He explained that he would referee the fight. It would have to be a clean fight with no kicking or gouging. Ernie waited impatiently to begin. Scotty, in one of the bravest acts Eddie had ever seen, removed his glasses and stepped into the ring. As Ernie spat out his tobacco and raised his fist, Scotty charged him unexpectedly, and Ernie went over. In a half-second, Scotty wrapped his stocky legs around Ernie's chest and locked his ankles together. Then he began to squeeze. Ernie thumped Scotty with his fist, but Scotty held on. He thrashed from side to side, but Scotty held on. He dragged Scotty through the dirt, but Scotty held on. After a couple of minutes, Ernie's face started to turn red, and his eyes bugged out. His Adam's apple bobbed up and down as he struggled to breathe. His flailing got weaker, and his eyes widened. Ernie looked over at Eddie and signaled for a timeout. "There aren't any timeouts," said Eddie, making up the rules as he went. "Okay, the fight's over then." Little Eddie tapped Scotty on the shoulder, and he released his stranglehold. Both boys slowly got to their feet. Ernie dusted himself off and looked over at Scotty with a new respect. Then, without saying anything else, he headed out the gate and home. "Who won?" asked Scotty. Eddie looked at him with pure admiration. "I don't know," he said, "but you sure didn't lose." As Scotty replaced his glasses, Eddie threw his arm around Scotty's shoulder and proudly walked him back inside the house.